Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving deep into something we all think we know about, company culture. But I'm not talking about the surface level stuff. We're going to peel back the layers and look at the invisible architecture that really, truly makes a company what it is. Let's get right into it. So let me ask you a question. When you hear the words company culture, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it the free snacks in the kitchen? The ping pong table in the break room? Maybe casual Fridays? Look, those things are nice for sure, but they are just the window dressing. They're the absolute tip of the iceberg. And the real culture, the stuff that matters, is happening way down below the surface. You see, real company culture is this invisible, powerful force. It's in the air. It quietly shapes every single thing that happens in an organization. How people talk to each other, how big decisions get made, and yeah, ultimately, whether that company skyrockets to success or just fizzles out. It's the unwritten rules, the shared assumptions, the gut feelings. And because you can't see it, it's incredibly hard to get a handle on, let alone change. And that, right there, is the big problem, isn't it? Culture is literally everywhere, but it's so hard to define. It's kind of like trying to describe the wind. You can feel it, you can see its effects, but you can't just grab it and put it in a box. So to make this invisible force visible, we need a map. We need a tool that lets us see what's actually going on. And that's where the cultural web comes in. This is a brilliant framework developed by two thinkers, Gerry and Kevan Scholes, specifically designed to help us diagnose and understand the messy, complex reality of an organization's culture. It essentially gives us a set of X-ray goggles, breaking culture down into 6 distinct but deeply interconnected parts. It lets us see the whole picture. So, the cultural web is built around these 6 essential elements. Think of them as the threads that weave together to create the fabric of a company's identity. We're going to go through each one, and we'll start with what might be the most human and powerful element of all, the stories people tell. First up, we have stories. And I'm not just talking about corporate PR. These are the legends, the myths, the cautionary tales that get passed around from employee to employee, often over lunch or coffee. They're about the heroes who saved the day, the villains who messed things up, and the epic successes or failures. These stories reveal what a company actually values, far more than any glossy mission statement ever could. A perfect example of this is Southwest Airlines. That place is famous for its stories. You hear tales of flight attendants telling jokes during the safety briefing, or gate agents moving heaven and earth to help a passenger make a connection. These aren't just feel-good anecdotes. They're constantly reinforcing the core idea that Southwest is a fun and friendly place. The stories are culture in action. Now, those stories are brought to life through the next element, rituals and routines. This is all about the way things are done around here. It's the daily stuff, the stuff that feels normal. How are meetings conducted? Are they formal and stuffy or a free-for-all? How do people greet each other in the morning? These everyday behaviors are the bedrock of culture. Just think about Google's legendary 20% time. For a long time, they had a policy where engineers could spend 1 day a week working on whatever project they were passionate about. That wasn't just a perk. It was a powerful routine. It sent a crystal clear message that this company values creativity, experimentation, and innovation. They literally built it into the work schedule. Okay, now let's talk about the most visible, tangible parts of the web, symbols. This is everything your eyes can see. We're talking logos, of course, but also the office layout. Is it open plan or a maze of cubicles? What's the dress code? Are people in suits or hoodies? Even the specific acronyms and jargon a company uses are powerful symbols of who they are. And you absolutely cannot talk about symbols without talking about Apple. I mean, come on. From the moment you pick up one of their products with its clean, minimalist design, to the second you walk into one of their bright, airy retail stores, everything is a symbol. It screams a culture that is completely obsessed with simplicity, elegance, and quality. They don't even have to say a word. All right, moving from the visible stuff to the invisible blueprint, we have the organizational structure. Now, this is way more than just a boring org chart. The structure tells you how power flows and how people are expected to work together. Is it a tall, rigid pyramid where everything has to go up the chain of command? Or is it a flat, decentralized network where ideas can come from anywhere? And that structure has a huge impact on behavior. Think about a classic tech startup. They often have a very flat structure. That's a symbol in itself, signaling a culture built on speed, agility, and shared responsibility. Now contrast that with, say, a huge traditional bank with its deep, rigid hierarchy. That structure signals a culture of control, process, and risk aversion. And what enforces that structure? Well, that brings us to control systems. This one is huge. This is all about what gets measured, what gets monitored, and most importantly, what gets rewarded. You can forget all the pretty words on the Our Values poster. If you want to know what a company really values, look at what people get bonuses for. Let's take a sales team, for example. If the control system is all about massive bonuses for the top individual performers, what kind of culture are you going to get? You're going to get a cutthroat, competitive, every person for themselves environment. But if you change that control system to reward team-based sales targets, you're suddenly going to foster a much more collaborative and supportive culture. The control system literally dictates the behavior. It's that powerful. And that leads us to our final and maybe the most fascinating element, power structures. This is about who really calls the shots. And listen, it's often not the person with the fanciest title on their business card. In every organization, there are individuals or groups who have the real influence, whose opinions carry the most weight, no matter what the official org chart says. A classic, easy-to-understand example is a family business. You might have a CEO with the official title, but everybody in that company knows that the founder, mom, dad, or grandpa, is the one who holds the real power and has the final say. Or think about a hospital. A group of highly respected senior surgeons might have way more influence over key medical decisions than the official hospital administrator. That's the real power structure. Okay, so we've looked at all 6 elements on their own, but the real magic happens when you see how they all weave together. So let's look at a true masterclass in building an intentional culture. The online retailer Zappos. They basically made their unique culture the core of their entire business strategy. Just look at how beautifully this all connects at Zappos. The stories, they had the legendary tale of a customer service call that lasted 10 hours. That story was backed up by their control systems because they didn't measure call times, they measured whether reps created wow moments. And who had the ability to do that? The power structure empowered those reps to do whatever it took to make a customer happy. Every single thread, the stories, the symbols, the controls, it all wove together to reinforce one single powerful idea: total customer obsession. So, now that we've seen how it all works, this is where the cultural web becomes an incredibly powerful tool for you. It's a diagnostic lens. It lets you look past the official slogans and the marketing fluff and see what's really, truly going on under the hood of a company. And this is the ultimate test. A company can plaster our values, our innovation, and teamwork all over their walls. But then you use the cultural web, and what do you find? The stories are all about lone wolf heroes. The control systems only give bonuses for individual achievement, and the organizational structure is a rigid hierarchy that kills collaboration. The web reveals that massive gap between what a company says it is and what it actually is. So I want you to try this. Use this framework as a lens to look at your own workplace, or a company you admire, or even one you're thinking of joining. Start looking for the stories. Pay attention to the daily routines. Ask yourself, what behavior really gets rewarded here? Who holds the actual power? Once you start looking through this lens, that invisible culture suddenly becomes very, very clear. So leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Every single organization has a cultural web. It's there, whether it was designed on purpose or just grew wild over time. The only real question is, what story does your company's web tell? And maybe more importantly, is it telling the story you want it to?